Truman Show.
Okay, so how many people here have seen a movie called The Truman Show? Quite a few of you. For those of you who haven't, or if you need a refresher, it was a 1998 movie with Jim Carrey starring as Truman Burbank. He was the star of The Truman Show. And he thought that he lived in Sea Haven, Florida. He actually lived in a giant television studio. There were thousands of cameras everywhere because The Truman Show followed him around to see what Truman was up to, and it focused on his life, on how he reacted to things. Now, Truman, this is kind of what the television studio looked like. It was a big dome, so it looked like a sky to him. It had an island. That's where Sea Haven was. And the producer-director of the show was played by Ed Harris, Christoph. Now, Truman had grown up his whole 30 years in The Truman Show, and Christoph was once asked, why has Truman continued to believe? Now, Christoph responded, we accept the reality of the world which we are presented. It's as simple as that. So Truman was basically accepting a false reality, and I think many of us do too. Christoph's obvious incentive was the show was hugely popular. It was the most popular show on TV, ran 24 hours a day, making a fortune on advertising. I think we were presented a false reality, and much of it is by a group. You've probably heard of the Illuminati, the Cabal, the global elite. I absolutely believe there is such a group, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. Some of you might be thinking, this sounds like ridiculous conspiracy stuff. I think that's exactly what they'd like you to believe. Here I am, a conspiracy theorist. That was a term that the CIA came up with in 1967 to discredit people who challenge things that they don't want you thinking or talking about or presenting. Now, why would they do that if there wasn't something out there? Truman had a similar thing that kept him in line. In The Truman Show, he had was almost drowned, and he thought that his father had drowned. It was kind of staged. But ever since, Truman had a fear of water. He would not cross the bridge in town that would have brought him to the edge of the dome. He wouldn't go out in the water either. The global elite does things to present us with a false reality. They fund and largely control our education. They just started at the Department of Education. They send lots of money to universities and colleges. And they don't do this because they're nice guys. They do this because they control what's taught there. They've also, in the last 25 years, managed to consolidate our media from 50 companies down to 5, and they control those 5. Now, they do this for profit, money and power. They are the reason why, this is a true fact, the top 1% richest people in the world now control more wealth than the rest of us in the lower 99%. Another technique they use, because they own or fund many of the universities, makes them easy to influence scientific studies. And then if someone challenges, hey, don't you believe in science? So we, like Truman, are getting a very heavily distorted view of news and information. I want to just mention a few of the many things they'd like you to believe. One is that money is the key to happiness. Well, they'd like you to work hard keep working hard, even though they're hogging the money. They want you to work hard and buy their products. True happiness comes from relationships, from love, things like that. They'd also like you to believe in their medical system, where chemotherapy, pharmaceuticals, and radiation are here to save you. Now, I personally think that if they really wanted to save you, they'd come up with better things than chemotherapy and radiation, which really damages your immune system and makes it very hard. They have suppressed real cures to cancer. They also don't want you to know that if you're in a state not stressed with good nutrition, our bodies have an amazing ability to heal themselves. And of course, they don't want you to believe in ESP, aliens. People who believe that stuff or conspiracy theories are nuts. Well, all I can say to that is, I guess I must be nuts. Now, Truman eventually started thinking, hey, there's something wrong with my reality. This especially occurred to him when a studio light fell from the sky and landed next to him. He started looking at other things in his life and going, hey, something's wrong with my reality. Now, Truman eventually went on to challenge his fear of the water, sail his boat through a major storm, and sure enough, he got to the edge of the dome, climbed up, and opened a door. I'd like you to consider opening your own door and look at the ways that the global elite are limiting aspects of your life. Now, I think many people have, and I think that's part of the reason that Donald Trump, I know he's very non-establishment though, and Bernie Sanders, whom I really liked, I think it's part of the reason that they were so popular, because people are waking up to the fact that there are some crooked people controlling our world. What I hear from my non-mainstream media sources is that as people are becoming aware, there's a real war going on right now, a secret war for power. And if what I hear is true, they're losing big. And if that is true, we could start seeing things like a better distribution of wealth, free energy, significantly better health care and health, and a release of a huge amount of information and technology that they've been keeping to themselves. So I encourage you to get informed. If you don't believe me now, at least take a look at some alternate sources of information. And those